When the news broke that Caitlin Clark, the rising star of women's college basketball, had signed a massive endorsement deal with Adidas, the basketball community buzzed with reactions. But no reaction seemed louder or more intense than that of A'ja Wilson, the reigning NBA MVP and one of the league's most dynamic players. The look on Wilson's face could have turned a basketball to stone. Her frustration wasn't just simmering beneath the surface. It was a full boil, and you could see that this development struck a nerve. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Wilson, who has been a prominent face for Nike, appeared to feel slighted, and not without reason. She's given her all to the game, proving herself at every level, and her partnership with Nike has been a significant part of her career identity. But here was Clark, fresh on the scene, snatching a deal with Adidas that seemed to overshadow the type of attention Wilson had worked years to command. It's the kind of moment that makes you realize the game isn't always just about the talent on the court. It's not the business behind the scenes. This deal with Adidas is a game changer, and Clark's success off the court is indicative of a shift in how brands are positioning themselves in the women's sports market. A'ja Wilson has every right to be frustrated, and it's not just about the money or the glitz. It's about the perception of value, the narrative of who deserves what in the basketball hierarchy. Wilson has paid her dues, dominated on the court, and led her team to success. Yet here's Clark, still new to the spotlight, getting this massive deal that could have easily been hers. For Wilson, it's like running the marathon only to have someone jump in during the last mile and steal the tape. Caitlin Clark has undoubtedly proven her prowess in college basketball, but A'ja Wilson's resume is stacked with accomplishments that span years of dedication and grit. She's not just a star, she's the force that has shaped the WNBA's modern era. To see a newcomer land such a lucrative deal with Adidas feels like watching a new kid on the block win a popularity contest at a party you organized. The intensity of Wilson's reaction speaks volumes about the pressures female athletes face in their quest for recognition. Her outburst wasn't simply about Caitlin Clark signing with Adidas. It was a culmination of years of grinding, pushing through barriers, and battling for respect in a game that sometimes seems to overlook its greatest talents. Wilson's fury is relatable to anyone who has put in the work only to watch someone else reap the rewards, seemingly without the same level of struggle or dedication. And, let's be honest, Wilson's charisma and personality have always been as much a part of her game as her rebounding and shot blocking. She has a way of lighting up the room, and sometimes she lights it up with fire. The frustration she showed was not just personal. It was also a representation of the challenges female athletes face in getting the recognition they deserve from major brands. She's been in the trenches, building a legacy, yet the spotlight seems to drift so easily to fresh faces like Clark. Caitlin Clark's deal with Adidas isn't just any deal, it's a statement. It's Adidas planting a flag in the ground and saying they're betting on the future of women's basketball. The decision to go with Clark signals a shift in strategy for brands, moving towards securing young, marketable talents early on in their careers. For Wilson, this could feel like a direct challenge, almost as if the established stars of today are being sidelined for the promises of tomorrow. There's a certain irony in Wilson's situation. Nike has long been her partner, and she's undoubtedly raised the brand's profile within the WNBA community. But as she watches Adidas woo a young star like Clark, Wilson must be questioning the loyalty and commitment that brands have to their seasoned athletes. It's like investing in a relationship for years, only to see your partner flirt with someone else as soon as they walk in the room. Wilson's frustration, then, isn't just competitive spirit. It's the sting of feeling undervalued. You'd have to admire Wilson's honesty, though. She's never been one to hold back, and her willingness to voice her displeasure brings a rawness to this unfolding drama. It's a reminder that these athletes are human, with emotions and reactions just like anyone else. Wilson's fury is not only directed at Clark, but also at a system that seems to pivot its attention based on trends rather than loyalty. Her reaction encapsulates the struggle of many players who fight for their place in a rapidly shifting landscape, where longevity sometimes feels like a curse rather than a blessing. Adidas clearly sees Caitlin Clark as a star who can connect with a younger generation, one that's tuned into social media and influencer culture. Clark's highlight reel plays and confident swagger make her a perfect fit for the brand's image. Yet for Wilson, whose presence in the WNBA has been a cornerstone of the league's growth, this feels like a missed opportunity, a deal that should have reinforced the value of proven excellence rather than the promise of potential. Wilson's reaction also touches on the broader discussion of how female athletes are marketed and perceived by major brands. There's a sense that women in sports are often only as good as their last big moment, always at risk of being replaced by the next up-and-comer. The contrast between Wilson's established dominance and Clark's rising fame brings this issue into sharp focus. It's not about whether Clark deserved the deal, it's about why Wilson wasn't prioritized in the same way despite all she's achieved. It's a situation that stirs the competitive spirit, not just in Wilson, but in every athlete who feels like they've been passed over for the next big thing. In a way, it's almost a compliment to Wilson's stature that she feels this level of frustration. It shows that despite her established success, she's still hungry, still driven by the need to prove herself, to claim what she believes is rightfully hers. It's the kind of fire that has made her one of the most dominant forces in the game. Caitlin Clark's rise to fame has been nothing short of meteoric, and her ability to secure a deal with Adidas speaks to her star power. But Wilson's reaction highlights a deeper issue: how quickly the spotlight can shift in professional sports, even for athletes who have built their careers on consistent excellence. The fact that Wilson, an MVP and WNBA champion, has to compete with a college player for brand deals says a lot about where the priorities lie in sports marketing today. The humor in all of this, if you can find any, is in Wilson's directness. She's never been one to sugarcoat her feelings or play the diplomatic card when she's upset. If something doesn't sit right with her, she'll let you know, sometimes with a side eye or a sarcastic comment that cuts right to the bone. There's almost a comedic edge to her fury, like a protagonist in a sitcom who's done everything right only to watch the clueless new character get all the applause. In some ways, Wilson's reaction could be seen as a wake-up call to brands like Nike. She's made it clear that loyalty and dedication mean something to her, and that she expects the same from those she partners with. Nike's focus on securing new talent like Sabrina Ionescu and their promotional efforts around newer stars might not have been lost on Wilson, who has done everything to solidify her legacy within the brand's stable of athletes. Her frustration is the echo of a champion who feels her efforts are being taken for granted. Caitlin Clark's deal is undoubtedly a win for her and a massive boost for her career trajectory, but it's also a reminder of how sports endorsements can shape the perception of an athlete's value. Clark's marketability was seen as worth the investment, and it's a sign that Adidas believes in her potential to become one of the faces of women's basketball. For Wilson, this must sting not because she doubts Clark's talent, but because it highlights the fickle nature of brand loyalty. The clash between Wilson's experience and Clark's rising fame might be entertaining to watch, but it's also a sobering glimpse into the business side of basketball. Wilson's outrage, wrapped in her usual mix of humor and intensity, isn't just a knee-jerk reaction, it's a critique of an industry that sometimes seems to value flash over substance. It's not the effort that doesn't always translate to endorsement dollars, about the grind that doesn't always pay off in the way it should. Ledger Wilson's fury over Caitlin Clark's deal with Adidas can be seen as a turning point in the dynamics of endorsement deals within women's sports. This situation is more than just a clash of two athletes. It's a statement about the evolution of how companies are investing in the future of female sports stars. When Wilson's frustration boiled over, it wasn't just a reaction to the deal itself, but also to what it symbolizes: a shifting tide in which the old guard is seemingly being overlooked in favor of the new generation. Wilson's rise to prominence in the NBA has been the product of relentless effort, a testament to her unyielding work ethic and talent. She came into the league as a high draft pick and has lived up to every expectation placed on her, setting the standard for what a dominant player in the league should look like. Her on-court presence has been nothing short of game-changing. She's a cornerstone of her team, and a name synonymous with WNBA excellence. This level of impact is the kind of foundation that typically leads to long-term brand partnerships, deals that go beyond just putting a logo on a jersey, but are rooted in mutual growth and success. What makes Wilson's reaction to Clark's Adidas deal even more compelling is the context in which it happens. The WNBA has long struggled to garner the same level of attention and commercial backing as its male counterparts in the NBA. When a player of Wilson's caliber, who has done so much to elevate the game, expresses her displeasure, it's a reminder of the inequities that still exist in how female athletes are rewarded for their contributions. Her frustration is not only directed at the loss of a deal, but also at the missed opportunity to further the visibility of established stars in a league that continues to fight for its place in the sports landscape. Clark, on the other hand, represents the new wave of athletes that brands like Adidas are eager to latch onto: youthful, charismatic, and bursting with potential. Her deal is a nod to the strategy of investing in emerging talents early in their careers, with the hope that they will grow into marketable superstars. This approach isn't new in sports marketing, but it's particularly stark in this instance because of how quickly the focus shifts from the proven champions like Wilson to the rising stars like Clark. It's a bet on the future, sometimes at the expense of those who have already proven their worth. For Wilson, it's more than a professional rivalry, it's personal. She's the kind of player who wears her heart on her sleeve, who takes pride in every block, every rebound, every moment on the court. Her reaction to Clark's steal isn't just a knee-jerk response. It's the culmination of years of feeling like she has to fight for her place, not only in the league, but in the world of sports endorsements. Wilson's journey to the top of the WNBA has been paved with sweat and sacrifice, and to see a less experienced player like Clark snag such a high-profile deal must feel like a dismissal of all that she has achieved. In an era where social media plays a significant role in how athletes build their brands, the contrast between Wilson's established persona and Clark's fresh appeal becomes even more pronounced. Wilson has built her brand through years of authenticity, hard work, and undeniable skill. Her social media presence is a reflection of her personality, funny, fierce, and unfiltered. Clark, while talented and promising, is still in the early stages of crafting her narrative, and yet brands are ready to invest heavily in her future potential. This shift highlights a fundamental question in sports marketing. Is it better to bet on established greatness or on the promise of a star in the making? Adidas has made it clear that they're banking on youth and potential, and Clark fits that mold perfectly. She's got the swagger, the sharpshooting skills, and the ability to pull off jaw-dropping plays that make her a highlight reel waiting to happen. For brands looking to connect with a younger audience, Clark represents the ideal ambassador. Her appeal lies not only in her basketball prowess, but in her relatability, her journey as a college athlete on the rise, and her natural fit with the modern era of influencers and digital fame. But Wilson's reaction isn't just about the loss of one deal. It's about the broader implications for female athletes who have already paid their dues. She's raised the bar in the WNBA, setting records, winning awards, and leading her team to victories. Despite her achievements, it seems that the recognition from brands doesn't always match the effort she's put in. Wilson's outrage could be seen as a rallying cry for all those athletes who feel like their proven success is constantly being overlooked in favor of the next big thing. There's also an element of respect that Wilson's reaction demands, a respect for the journey, the sweat equity, and the legacy that she has built in the sport. It's not just about being the best on the court. It's about commanding the respect that comes with years of dedication and leadership. Wilson has been a pillar of strength, not only for her team but for the league itself, acting as a role model and a voice for change. Her contributions go beyond her stats. They include her impact on the culture of the game and her influence on the next generation of athletes. To understand the weight of Wilson's frustration, you have to consider the context of her career. She's not just another player in the WNBA. She's a symbol of excellence, a leader who has consistently pushed the boundaries of what it means to be great. Her journey has been defined by overcoming obstacles, from battling for equal pay and visibility in the league to advocating for social justice issues. She's used her platform to speak out on causes that matter, all while dominating on the court. For someone like Wilson, who has dedicated her career to elevating the sport and fighting for recognition, Clark's Adidas deal is a bitter pill to swallow. In the world of sports, endorsements are more than just a financial agreement. They're a sign of status, of being seen as a key player who can shape the narrative of the game. Wilson's anger is not just about the dollars and cents. It's about the statement that this deal makes. It suggests that the momentum is shifting away from the established stars who have been the backbone of the sport to the newcomers who are just beginning to make their mark. Clark's Adidas deal is undoubtedly a smart business move for the brand. They're positioning themselves as forward-thinking, aligning with an athlete who represents the next generation of basketball. It's a move that's bound to resonate with younger fans who follow the game on social media, who consume highlight clips and viral moments. But it also raises questions about the value that is placed on seasoned athletes who have been the face of the sport for years. For Wilson, it must feel like a punch to the gut to see a brand choose potential over proven talent, no matter how promising the potential might be. As much as Wilson's reaction might be seen as competitive fire, there's also a vulnerability to it, a sense of hurt that comes from feeling like she's being sidelined despite all she's done for the sport. It's the pain of knowing that no matter how much you give, there's always someone younger, someone newer, ready to take your place. Her frustration is a reminder that for all the talk of growth and support for women's sports, there's still a long way to go in terms of truly valuing the athletes who have paved the way. At the core of Wilson's anger is a demand for recognition, not just for herself, but for all the athletes who have fought to make women's basketball what it is today. She's speaking out for the veterans who have stayed loyal, who have carried the weight of the league on their shoulders, and who now watch as the attention shifts to the next big thing. Wilson's fury is a call for respect, a reminder that the journey matters as much as the destination, and that greatness isn't just about potential, it's about what you've already accomplished. For Clark, this deal with Adidas is a golden opportunity, a chance to cement her place as one of the future stars of basketball. She's stepping into the limelight at a time when women's sports are gaining more attention than ever, and she's got the skills and personality to make the most of it. This partnership will undoubtedly open doors for her, giving her a platform to expand her influence and grow her brand in ways that will shape her career for years to come. Yet the story of Clark and Wilson is a tale of two athletes at different points in their careers, one on the rise, full of promise and potential, and the other at the peak of her powers, demanding the respect and recognition she's earned. Wilson's reaction is not just a personal grievance, it's a broader commentary on the challenges that come with being a female athlete in a world that's constantly looking for the next sensation. It's a reminder that while the game evolves, respect for those who have laid the groundwork should never be a fleeting thing. Wilson's outspoken response might just be the spark that fuels a broader conversation about how we celebrate and support female athletes. Her willingness to call out the situation puts a spotlight on the dynamics at play and forces us to question how we value proven excellence versus untapped potential. It's the kind of moment that can lead to change, pushing brands and fans alike to rethink what it means to truly back an athlete, not just when they're new and exciting, but throughout their entire journey. A'ja Wilson's response to Caitlin Clark's Adidas deal may very well represent a broader cultural shift in women's sports, highlighting the evolving nature of how star athletes are perceived and valued. As Wilson stands at the pinnacle of her career, the emotions stirred by this deal are more than just competitive irritation. They touch on a deeper narrative about recognition, legacy, and what it means to truly be seen in the spotlight of the sports world. The significance of endorsement deals in the world of sports cannot be understated. They're not just contracts or sponsorships. They're the ultimate markers of an athlete's commercial and cultural relevance. For years, Wilson has been the face of women's basketball, her achievements speaking for themselves on the court. She has played a critical role in propelling the NBA forward, turning heads with her performances and inspiring young athletes worldwide. Wilson's presence has been a beacon for many, embodying the strength, resilience, and artistry that makes women's basketball such a compelling spectacle. When an athlete like Wilson reacts strongly to another player's deal, it's a signal that the stakes aren't just about money or fame. They're about respect, legacy, and the ongoing struggle to gain the recognition deserved by those who have paved the way. Wilson's contributions to the NBA have transformed her from a rookie sensation into a seasoned veteran, with a voice that carries weight both on and off the court. She's not just any player, she's a multi-time All-Star, a champion, and a leader who has defined her generation's approach to the game. The fire she's shown in her reaction to Clark's deal speaks to a deeper frustration, a feeling that for all she has done to elevate the sport, there remains a gap in how her contributions are acknowledged compared to the attention lavished on newer stars. When Wilson took to social media to express her feelings, the basketball community knew that this wasn't just about Caitlin Clark landing a deal. It was about what the deal represented. Wilson's voice echoed the sentiments of many athletes who see their years of dedication overshadowed by the excitement surrounding unproven talent. It's not that Clark isn't deserving. Her skill set and potential are undeniable. But in Wilson's eyes, it's the notion that her established dominance and history of achievements somehow seem to count less in the race for commercial value. Wilson's frustration is rooted in the irony of being the torchbearer for a league that even now doesn't always place the highest value on its greatest contributors. Clark's deal with Adidas undoubtedly brings a new dimension to her career and the landscape of endorsements in women's sports. For a young athlete still making her way into the professional scene, securing a high-profile deal with a brand as iconic as Adidas is a huge milestone. It's a signal that she is not just another player. She's seen as the next big star, a figure that can capture imaginations and shift perceptions. Adidas's decision to back Clark so strongly highlights the company's vision of investing in a talent they believe can transcend the sport, perhaps even reshaping how fans engage with women's basketball. The timing of this endorsement also aligns with a broader trend in sports marketing, where brands are increasingly keen to associate themselves with up-and-coming athletes who can draw younger audiences and generate buzz. In this context, Clark is a perfect match. Her youthful energy, exciting playstyle, and strong presence in the NCAA have already made her a household name in college sports. The potential she brings to redefine the narrative of women's basketball is appealing to brands that are hungry for fresh faces to lead their campaigns and captivate a growing fanbase. But Wilson's outspoken reaction might be just as significant for her career as the endorsement is for Clark's. This moment of vulnerability and candor has revealed a layer of Wilson's persona that goes beyond the fierce competitor and decorated champion. Her willingness to speak up against what she perceives as an injustice could further cement her position as a voice of authority in women's sports, someone who stands not just for her own achievements, but for the collective acknowledgement of all those who have toiled and triumphed to elevate the game. Wilson's reaction could spark a broader conversation about how athletes, especially women in sports, are valued and marketed by major corporations. What makes this situation particularly complex is that both Wilson and Clark are, in their own ways, essential to the growth of women's basketball. Wilson represents the legacy, the tradition of excellence that has taken the sport to new heights, while Clark represents its future, the promise of continued evolution, and the hope of bringing in new audiences. The clash between these two narratives, one of proven greatness and one of untapped potential, highlights a fundamental tension that exists in sports marketing today. As Wilson grapples with this reality, it wouldn't be surprising to see her double down on her efforts to prove that her value is far from diminished. She might see this as a moment to redefine her own legacy, to push even harder on the court and in her business ventures, making it impossible for anyone to overlook her contributions. Wilson's drive and competitive spirit have never been in question, but this situation might add another layer to her determination. We could see her use this perceived slight as motivation to reach even greater heights in her performance, setting new standards for what it means to be a superstar in the WNBA. For Clark, the endorsement from Adidas comes with its own set of pressures. Now she must live up to the expectations that come with being anointed as the next face of women's basketball. Every game, every play, every highlight will be scrutinized to see if she's truly worthy of the hype. Clark will have to navigate this landscape carefully, balancing the demands of being a young athlete in the spotlight with the corporate expectations of representing a major global brand. Her journey will be closely watched, not just by fans and critics, but by other athletes like Wilson who understand the weight of carrying a brand's hopes and ambitions on their shoulders. This dynamic between Wilson and Clark may also influence how brands approach their endorsement strategies in the future. Companies like Adidas and Nike might need to reconsider how they value the contributions of established athletes in comparison to up-and-coming stars. While it's important to invest in new talent, there's also immense value in aligning with athletes who have already built a legacy, who have the experience and the proven ability to lead, inspire, and generate loyalty among fans. Wilson's reaction could prompt brands to rethink their strategies and look for ways to bridge the gap between celebrating rising stars and honoring the trailblazers who have laid the groundwork. In a market that is increasingly driven by digital engagement and social media presence, it's crucial for companies to strike a balance that respects both the veterans and the rookies of the sport. Endorsement deals should not just be about who's trending at the moment, but also about who has the power to sustain and grow the sport's legacy over the long term. As Wilson continues to process her feelings about this situation, it's possible that we'll see her use her platform to advocate for a more balanced approach in recognizing athletes. She's always been vocal about issues that matter to her, whether it's social justice, gender equality, or the respect that female athletes deserve. This could be the moment that propels Wilson into even more prominent leadership roles, both within the sport and in broader conversations about fairness and equity in sports marketing. Clark, meanwhile, will need to navigate her rise with grace, understanding that her journey is taking place in the shadow of those who came before her. She has a chance to shape her career in a way that not only highlights her talent, but also pays homage to the pioneers like Wilson, who have made it possible for players like her to enjoy the opportunities they do today. If she succeeds in both winning games and respecting the legacy of the sport, Clark could emerge not just as the next big star, but as a unifying figure for different generations of basketball fans. The larger narrative that emerges from this moment isn't just about a rivalry or a deal. It's about how we define greatness and how we ensure that those who have paved the way are honored while also embracing the future. Wilson's outrage and Clark's emergence are two sides of the same coin, representing the ongoing evolution of women's basketball as it grapples with issues of recognition, respect, and the balance between legacy and innovation. This story may very well shape how we see women's sports in the years to come, setting a new standard for how athletes are valued beyond just their immediate impact on the court. Wilson's sense of determination and fierce loyalty to her craft could very well lead her to rethink her partnerships, not just in terms of financial deals, but in how she aligns herself with brands that truly appreciate her value. She's been with Nike for a significant portion of her career, but her frustration with how brands prioritize new talent might prompt her to seek opportunities that give her more control over her narrative. If there's one thing Wilson has shown, it's that she doesn't shy away from demanding her due, whether it's on the court, in the media, or in the marketplace. As she processes this situation, Wilson might take a page out of the playbook of athletes who have taken control of their personal brands, not just through endorsements, but by becoming entrepreneurs and investors. We've seen legends in various sports use moments of doubt or frustration as a springboard to greater achievements outside their traditional roles. Wilson has the charisma, the leadership skills, and the business acumen to do the same. Perhaps this setback could lead her to consider launching her own initiatives, products, or even ventures that reflect her values and amplify her voice in ways that no brand deal alone ever could. While Clark will undoubtedly enjoy the benefits of her new partnership with Adidas, she might also feel the ripple effects of stepping into the spotlight Wilson has occupied for years. There's a certain pressure that comes with being thrust into the role of a brand's new face, especially when the torch has been passed in such a public and controversial manner. Clark now has the dual responsibility of proving her worth, not only on the court but also as a marketable figure who can live up to the expectations set by the brand and the fans. The journey she's embarking on is filled with promise, but it's also fraught with the expectations to deliver at every turn. For Wilson, her reaction to this deal is not just a single moment of outrage. It's a statement about her legacy and what she stands for as a leader in women's sports. She's made it clear that she's not interested in being remembered as a player who quietly accepted the status quo. Her impact goes beyond the stat sheets and accolades. It's about pushing the boundaries of what's possible for women in sports, fighting for every inch of recognition, and making sure that the foundations she helped build aren't just replaced but built upon with respect. As the dust settles on this chapter, both Wilson and Clark find themselves at pivotal crossroads. Wilson's career is defined by her resilience and a legacy of excellence that she fiercely guards, and this moment has only intensified her resolve to be acknowledged as more than just a player, but as a symbol of the best the sport has to offer. Clark, meanwhile, stands at the dawn of her professional journey, with Adidas betting on her potential to transcend the game. This story of rivalry, respect, and recognition isn't just about one endorsement deal. It's about the stakes of legacy and how the future of women's basketball is being shaped right now. Wilson's anger might be the fire that reignites her ambition to prove that even as new stars emerge, her light isn't dimming, it's burning brighter than ever. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.